to the Makin's Clay Design Studio. I'm Cindi McGee. Today I'm going to show you some different techniques for making a great dimensional floral bangle. Makin's Clay is an ideal modeling medium to make jewelry in a variety of different styles. Its broad range of applications means endless creative jewelry options. We can't wait to show you today's options. To get started, we'll first open our clay. This is a 60-gram package of the olive Makin's Clay, and these new packages actually come with a zipper bag, so you can store your unused clay right in that. So you would remove that and set it aside for storage. And then inside, it's double wrapped. Now our 120-gram packages come in a box, but they're also double wrapped like this inside. You remove the outer wrap, and then at this point you can either cut off the amount you're going to need and put the rest into that zipper bag. I do still recommend putting in a small piece of a moist towelette or a damp paper towel just to keep it especially fresh. If you don't have this bag, keep any clay that you're not working with, again, in a zipper bag or an airtight container with something to keep it moist, and that way it'll stay fresh and ready to use. If you start working with the clay and it begins to feel dry to you, you can spritz it with a little water and it will reconstitute and be ready to use. We're going to use all of this olive, so I'm going to go ahead and open the rest. Now this clay is coming right off of this package. Sometimes some of the clay will stick to the package, and if it does, you can either scrape it with a tool or take your clay and pounce, and it will lift any clay that's on the package, so that's not waste. The clay is soft, pliable, and ready to use right out of the package. There's no conditioning necessary, which makes it perfect for use by any age group. Next, I'm going to show you how to blend the clay to make our pastel colors for our bracelet. To make the pastel shades of clay that I wanted for this project, I'm mixing white clay with the different colors. This bright neon pink was just too bright for what I wanted, but when mixed with equal parts white, it's the perfect shade. The same with the primary blue and the primary yellow. To make the light green for the back of our bangle, I'm using the olive and the white, and I'm just going to mix it together until it's thoroughly blended and creates a light shade of olive. To roll our sheet of light olive clay long enough to go around our wooden bangle, I'm using the Makin's Professional Ultimate Clay machine. What makes this machine unique is that it has non-stick rollers, making it perfect for use with any type of modeling medium. It also has 9 thickness settings, and on a number 9, your clay is almost paper thin. It's truly unique. You always begin at a setting number 1 and then go up progressively one setting at a time. I've started to flatten my clay a bit, and then I'm going to run it through the machine on a number 1. Then I'll go up to the next setting of 2 and repeat. And then at 3. And for this project, I'm ending this one on a number 4. So I've got a nice long strip that's ready to be textured. I did also roll my light blue and my light pink clay to a setting number 5 on the clay machine. I did not roll my pale yellow. To texture our clay, I'm using one of Makin's new large texture sheets. It's a set of 4 different floral texture sheets, and they're perfect for larger applications. Makin's texture sheets can be used on either side. One side will set the design in, the other will raise it up. There are a few ways you can do this. I like to just use my fingers to press and transfer that texture. And I can lift and see if I'm getting the impression I want or if I need to press a little more. You can also use a clay roller to apply the pressure. Some people will roll it through the Ultimate Clay Machine with the texture sheet. But I find it easier that I have more control when I do it this way. So let me texture this piece and then I will show you how we mount it to the bangle. To cover our wooden bangle, you first need to just get a straight edge. Now I'm just using the edge of my texture sheet as a guide. But you could use a ruler, and I'm using the cutting wheel to get a good straight edge. This is part of our professional toolkit. Now, to determine how wide you would cut it, it's going to depend on the width of your bangle. For this project, I'm going to mark where my edge is and then come back and cut along that edge. We're going to fix this as needed once we get it onto our bangle. That should be plenty long enough to fit my bangle. So I'm going to put this clay back into my bag for later use. And then I'm going to attach this strip to our bangle. I did go ahead and paint the inside and the outer edge of my wooden bangle with these iridescent paints before I proceeded to this step. You want to use a clear drying tacky glue. I like to use Makin's tacky glue, but any clear drying adhesive will work. You just do not want to use hot glue with Makin's clay because it will not hold over time. So I'm applying the glue and then I use my finger, because you do want to make sure that the glue is all the way to the edges of your bangle. There's a tiny amount of shrinkage when Makin's clay dries, and by putting that adhesive, that glue, all the way to the edge, it will hold it in place and avoid any gaps in your bangle when that clay starts to dry. So once I've got the adhesive all around, I'm just going to, let me cut this edge flat to start. And then just start and roll. And don't worry if it's a little wide, we can trim that with our scissors afterwards. And when you get to that end, you can either use your wheel or you can use scissors and trim it off and press. You can wet your finger if you want to seal that up a little bit better. And this clay, my line was a little off. Again, I can just use my scissors to cut it even with the bangle. And I'm just going to take my fingers and smooth that edge. Now, I want this to stay fresh and not begin the drying process while I create my flowers. So I'm going to put my bangle in that same zipper bag with that moist towelette to keep that clay fresh. And then I'm going to show you how I created the different flowers for our bangle. To make our dimensional spring pastel flowers, I'm using a technique that I learned from Judy Watanabe from Judykins. She showed me how to transform these flat images into something truly spectacular. We're using Makin's Flower and Leaf clay cutter set, and I'm going to use this flower for my pink, and I'm going to cut 5 of those. And then I'm going to cut several of these with the blue. And you can use as few or as many of these as you want, but the 5 larger ones balance as well around the bracelet. So we'll just cut a few of those. And now I'm going to show you how the magic happens, how Judy transformed them. Now, the trick to taking these from flat to fabulous is really quite simple. They do look pretty if you just layer your different colors in the flat form, but they really take on a dimensional pop when you trim them. You don't want to cut all the way to the center, just cut almost to the center. Now at this point you could just fold them up, but a fun little twist that she did was sort of bend them over each petal about halfway facing the other one. To get to this point. And now to make them really come up and form the petal, I'm going to attach it to our bracelet. And because this is why I wanted this clay to stay fresh, so that it actually attaches a little better, and this flower will almost impress into this one. Fresh Makin's clay will stick to Fresh Makin's clay without any additional adhesive. If you do need to use an adhesive, use something like a tacky glue. So I'm going to press my flower wherever I want to place it, and then I'm using a tool, I'm just using our bullet tip to kind of push it into that base clay. You're going to have to come out a little, I'm sorry. Because now I need to do this. There, okay. And once I have it adhered, then I pushed those little petals inward again. And you get this great dimensional flower. To make our blue flowers pop, I'm using a layer of 2. For the inside one, I folded all the petals pretty tightly inward. And then I folded these outer ones, not quite as tightly, but still upward to give us dimension. Set this one inside of this one. And again, because our bangle is still fresh, when I take this tip and impress it into that base, it'll adhere without any additional adhesive, and it brings those flower petals up a little bit more and gives them a great curl. To finish the center of our blue flower, I used a small ball of the yellow pastel clay that we made. And I tucked it inside over that little bullseye, and I made another little bullseye. And kind of folded them back over. I'm going to show you how I made the leaves, and then I'll show you how I did the center of these pink flowers. For these leaves, I wanted them to, again, be dimensional. I could have used the leaves in the clay cutter set, but I chose to use the floral push mold instead, and these small leaves. I'm using the olive without, not the mixed with white, the straight olive, because I wanted my leaves a touch darker against my light olive background. Now you can either push the clay in and then trim it afterwards with a scissors or with a craft knife, but because these molds are flexible and clear, I like to just keep the clay within the boundaries of the image I'm trying to mold, and I can turn it over and I can see, am I in or do I need to move it over? And then again, because they're flexible, I can pop my leaf right out and I can continue making them. I don't have to wait for them to dry before I can continue making them. So it's easy to make multiples. And I'm just going to tuck my little leaves in. Again, I could use a little tacky glue, or I could moisten the back with a touch of water and it will adhere. So I tuck in my little leaf, and I proceeded around the entire bangle with these. And then I'm going to show you the center, and then we're going to add a little bit more shimmer. To make these dimensional stamens for our pink flowers, we're using the Makin's Professional Ultimate Clay Extruder. I'm using disc number 8, which is a small multi-hole disc. And we're going to use the pale yellow clay that we made with our white and our yellow. You would turn the handle to open your barrel, and then place the clay inside. Place your disc inside your cap, and then screw in place. And then you simply turn the handle to begin extruding whatever shape that you're trying to achieve. And you can see that I have these little strands of clay. I'm going to stop when I get about that much because I'm going to extrude each flower's stamens individually. So I'm going to cut this off. And I sort of clustered them, pinched the bottoms together a little bit to kind of cluster them. And now, because our clay has started to dry, it is an air dry clay, so that process does begin. Once you remove that package, I'm going to place a little bit of a tacky glue in there and insert my stamen. And you might want to take a tool and just kind of press down a little bit. And then you can push your petals back up around your center. I did that on all of my pink flowers, and now it's time to add a bit of sparkle. I did want to mention one important thing with the Ultimate Clay Extruder. When you're finished using it, be sure that you remove the lid, the cap, and extrude all the remaining clay. You do not want to let your Makin's clay dry in your extruder, and that way it's ready for use next time. I have 2 layers of sparkle on this bangle bracelet. For the background, I wanted a real subtle effect, and I don't know if you can see that little twinkle that's going on. To get that, I used Frosh Smooch Glitz. This is from Clear Snap, and it works great. It's one of the many finishes that works great on Makin's clay. And I painted in directly over all of the light olive clay background in all of the openings around the flowers. You don't see a whole lot of effect now, but once it dries and it's not as glossy, that little bit of glitter that's in it just gives it a tiny bit of twinkle. To add this iridescence to the flowers and leaves, I'm using these Earth Safe Finishes Iridescence from Ann Butler. And I'm painting over a very thin coat over our petals. I want the color to still show from behind, and that's why these are nice. They're real translucent, yet you get that tiny touch of shimmer, just the right amount. So I painted around the pink flowers with this color, and then I did the blue flowers, and I even used the yellow on the stamens, and then I did the leaves in the limelight green. So then we've got a little bit of frosty sparkle on the background and a great iridescent shimmer on our dimensional flowers. And we're ready for our spring day. We hope you enjoyed learning how to take flat clay cut images and make them dimensional and fabulous. And we hope that you can see the broad range of applications and all the jewelry possibilities that you can now create. We invite you to explore the possibilities of adding Makin's Clay to all of your creative projects, and tune in next time to the Makin's Clay Design Studio for more project ideas.